Okay, hello everybody and welcome to today's event. I'm Jason Gumpert from MS Dynamics World and we're here for a new manufacturing panel discussion that I know is going to be a lot of fun. It is a pleasure to welcome three panelists today. We have Steve Reed, Vice President of Sales at Fullscope. It's great to have him back. And we have two other guests who are new to us. We have Kenny Mulliken, CIO of Paragon Films, and we have Wayne Bullington, Director of IT at George's Inc. They'll both be introducing themselves in just a moment, but as we get started, please know that you can ask questions today using the Q&A block, and we do invite you to do so, and we should be leaving a little bit of time at the end. And without further delay, I am going to hand things off to Steve Reed to get us started. So, Steve, welcome.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate the introduction and excited to have both Kenny and Wayne on with us today. And we'll start that question and answer time with them in just a second. But I did want to start with just a little bit of an overview of Fullscope. We've done now. This is our third webcast that we've done, and so for some may have seen information on us before. Others you may be joining in for the first time. So I did just want to give a little bit of background about who we are, and then I promise we'll end the commercial and we'll get right into what everybody's interested in, which is hearing from Kenny and from Wayne. So Fullscope is part of Edgewater, and you'll see our name as Edgewater Fullscope, but we'll also work with just Fullscope. Edgewater is our parent company, publicly traded company on NASDAQ, and we're one of three units inside of Edgewater. So there's Edgewater Fullscope, focused in the Microsoft channel around ERP and CRM, as well as business intelligence. And then Edgewater Technology, classic consulting group that they do advisory and technical work, as well as custom development work is a big part of their business. And then our third piece of the puzzle, if you will, Edgewater Ranzel, focuses in the Oracle space, and in that area really focused around the Hyperion product. And so they do quite a bit with business analytics, EPM, and business intelligence with big data, and so really focused in that space for the Oracle side. And so together we make up Edgewater, and have been. Fullscope has been part of Edgewater since 2010. So about Fullscope specifically, again, I mentioned that we work in the ERP and the CRM space. Specifically, we work with Dynamics AX on the ERP side. That's also now has another name, or another way to think of it, as Dynamics 365 for operations. And we'll get into that towards the end of the webcast today. But we've been in this space since 2003, and so it's been a really good, strong relationship with Microsoft. About 200 customers on the AX side, primarily focused in manufacturing, and over 1,000 CRM customers since 2008. Our CRM business was actually born in the cloud, so it's really been a cloud-based business since its inception, and has been a real strong area for us. Some of the recognition that we've received from working with some really great customers through the years. Inner Circle probably doesn't resonate necessarily with you, but for us inside our world, of the thousands of partners around the world for Microsoft, Inner Circle just designates the top 1% on a year-in, year-out basis, and so we've been really honored to be part of that for 10 different times. We're part of the Microsoft we're a Microsoft manufacturing partner in 5 different segments, and so I'll touch on that in just a minute as we look at a little bit deeper at how we look at the manufacturing space. We've had customers to win a Customer Excellence Award on seven different occasions, and so we're excited about that. And then some other Microsoft Partner Awards, ranging from regional awards as well as country awards, and again some that are specific to manufacturing and the manufacturing industry. And that's both on the CRM side as well as on the ERP side that we've been recognized in that way. So as far as our base, again, our core of our business is around manufacturing, and we, a little bit different than some, we work with both discrete manufacturing as well as process manufacturing. And so with that, we also pick up a fair amount of what really becomes more of a hybrid manufacturing, where there's some discrete and some process within the same business or same entity. And so for us, we look at that at the process manufacturing side, focused around food and consumer packaged goods, life sciences, the chemicals space, and then also on the discrete side, really an area that has been a strong suit for us is around building and industrial products. And so those areas, and you get a little bit of a sample of types of customers that we work with on the slide that you see now. I think, hang on a second before there we go. I double-clicked and missed the slide. So just the last thing about full scope, and just want to give you a kind of a big picture of the way that we look at our business, and really what the approach is that we take as we work with customers. And this is true on the ERP side as well as in the CRM space. So business applications can do a lot of different things, but we really look at it from the standpoint of businesses they're running. They know in most cases they know what they're looking to do. They're just trying to find a better way, an easier way, more efficient way to operate, and in some cases to really be transformative in their business. And that's where we're looking to come alongside and to really partner up with customers. And so providing, you see in the middle of the wheel, the notion of integrating what typically or traditionally has been silos in a business. And even those that are running on an ERP system today, a lot of times they're not implemented in a way that really allows for that information to be shared from one business unit or one functional area of the business to another. And so we're really looking to help tear down those walls and to allow that information to be more easily shared, but still in a very controlled and a very secure manner. And then from there, you see the blue ring there about extending. It's then about being able to extend your business out to your business partners. And so that's customers, it's suppliers, it's dealers, distributors, being able to help work more closely with those core constituents to your business. And again, to do it in a way that's very safe and secure, but that's also becoming more and more transparent. And again, just trying to eliminate the walls that have been there in traditional business. And then the last area is around the area of empowerment. And that's really about your employees. And so being able to provide your employees the right information at the right time and in the right format for them to do their job with as little friction as possible. And so whether that's on a handheld device, if it's for those that may be a remote employee that's working out or that's out visiting customers, working with suppliers, being able to provide that in a way that just helps that ease of use and to give them a very consistent and familiar look and feel, no matter where they are, no matter what job, kind of what hat they're wearing that day, being able to provide that and to empower the workforce from that. So that's just, again, big picture about how we look at our space and where we're trying to help customers. That again, they're working to transform their business to grow their business and where we want to partner with them to do that. So into the full scope commercial, I know everybody that's joined in is looking forward to hearing from Kenny and Wayne. And so let me do a little bit of an intro. Kenny is with Paragon Films. He's CIO there, and we've worked with Kenny for a little bit of time. He comes from a little bit more of a development background, and then has worked with a number of companies, but has been with Paragon for a number of years and leading their efforts as they've moved into Microsoft Dynamics AX. And so, Kenny, I'll let you talk, if you will, kind of introduce Paragon Films and what your business is about, and then after that, then I'll introduce Wayne to the audience.
Thank you, Steve. So Paragon Films, we are a stretch film manufacturer. That's a plastics product. Many people that see our names, they first assume that we are a movie company. And I'm about ready to stop correcting people and just run with it, because I think it could be a lot more interesting at a meet and greet or a reception to just say, yep, we make movies. We make, kung fu movies or something like that, and it'd probably be a little bit more interesting. But what we make is stretch film, which is kind of like Glad cling wrap, but industrial size, industrial strength rolls that wrap up boxes on pallets. So if you've ever seen a warehouse full of pallets with boxes on them, they're wrapped up in stretch wrap. It's very possibly our product. We have 3 plants in the U.S., and we service the United States, Canada, and Mexico, some other customers outside of that, but that's primarily it. And we've been using Dynamics AX and been a partner with Full Scope since, we went live in 2014 and started working with Full Scope in 2013.
Good deal. Thanks, Kenny. And next, let me introduce you to Wayne Bullington. Wayne is Director of IT at George's, and again, comes from pretty rich experience level being in industry and across a spectrum of different positions that he's had on the IT side. But Wayne has been with George's Chicken now for a number of years and has been helping lead them through really a transformation of the business as we were just talking about. So Wayne, great to have you on the call today, and I'll let you further introduce George's to everybody.
Thank you, Steve. George's is, as you can see on the screen, a fully integrated poultry operation. We process several million chickens a week. As fully integrated, that's talking about we work with contract growers to raise our birds. We manufacture the feed that they eat, and we process them and we sell them. We have a very small branded product, as well as global accounts, national accounts, retail accounts. If you've eaten chicken from Raising Cane's or maybe Texas Roadhouse, there's a good chance you've had our product. The company is almost 100 years old. It's a 4th generation run and owned company here in Northwest Arkansas. If you're not sure where that is, you can think about Walmart, Tyson, or J.B. Hunt. And we have been working towards this transformation, as Steve spoke, to ensure that we can sustain some growth into the future.
All right, that's awesome, and really for both Paragon, and I agree with Kenny when we first started working with Paragon. I mean, it was like, okay, what type of movies do they produce? But both Paragon and George's have been done really a great job of taking on the task of implementing new business applications, and obviously while you do that, you still have the day job to do. So we'll see what we can learn from their experiences. We've got some questions that will kind of pop up, and we'll hear from both. Kenny and Wayne, I'll at least try to direct to some degree who the question goes to, but obviously feel free to jump in and add color commentary on these. With this first one, Kenny, I'll start with you. What were the business challenges and opportunities that y'all had at Paragon that led to the selection? I think in y'all's case it was really just focused around ERP that led y'all to a new ERP system.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. Back in 2012, our head of sales had been to taking classes at Harvard Business School, and he met some people through that experience that made him believe that some of the issues that we were facing could be handled better with changes to our ERP system. The system that we had in place at the time had been put in place in 1989 and was still fully being used for all the aspects of running the company, from sales to accounting to inventory, manufacturing, and it was all on, I call it an AS400. I think there's a different official name for what IBM had evolved it into, but we still called it AS400. And it had been grown from, started as a turnkey product, and then had been modified and customized extensively throughout the years, and had gotten to the point where it was very specifically designed to the needs of the company. As the company began to grow, and we opened a new plant in North Carolina, and we're working on opening a new plant in Washington State, it started to be clear that the system wasn't really growing with the organization, and there were a lot of new things and new capabilities in ERP systems that would be very difficult to try to program into that or to make it fit. And so it became clear that something new was needed. And so at the time, the company engaged with IBM, since that's what our previous system was built on, to help find a new system. And IBM had actually brought SAP and Dynamics AX as the two ones that it thought might work best for us. And after a several-month process, it had been narrowed down to Dynamics AX, and IBM wanted to be the ones to do the project. That was before I came on as CIO. After I was hired as CIO, my first job was to determine whether AX was really the right system, and also whether, if so, then would IBM be the right partner. And so this was kind of some of the challenges that we had. Business challenges that were going on were related to extended lead times, where our sales were outpacing our manufacturing in some cases, and so it was getting harder and harder to deliver the products in a timely fashion. There was a disconnect between the information that was available to our sales and customer service organization and the information that was available in the warehouse and the manufacturing. We also had a very manual process in doing our production planning, and really we're interested in help with automating that, something more of a master planning, things where it could help us anticipate what we needed to be making and what the schedule for that would be across a more complex manufacturing organization. So those were really some of the main challenges that we were looking at when first coming into this, that led us to be looking at a new system.
Okay, all right, that's great. Wayne, how about for George's? I've yet to meet a company that's looking to implement a new business application, whether it's ERP or CRM, that's doing it for fun. So what were y'all looking at George's that led you down this path?
You know, Steve, Kenny mentioned several of the same things. I think it's a very common thing throughout the manufacturing industry at large. In fact, it's a bit of a conservative move towards technology outside of the plant. You said it earlier. I've worked with two other very large poultry operations, and for over 5.5 years, I worked in the plants on manufacturing technology, and that's where we typically tend to want to put our money for obvious reasons. So that's where we make our money. So here at George's, you heard me earlier say that we're almost 100 years old, and we had some of the same scenarios Kenny had. In fact, we had an in-house developed COBOL application that ran the lion's share of our business, and we were using another well-known ERP vendor to run some of the other ancillary operations. Ancillary, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, finance and accounting, HR, and payroll. And so what we really wanted to do, our primary interest was business process re-engineering, business process alignment. We had primarily two divisions, Arkansas, Missouri, and then another division in Virginia. And that was the company traditionally has grown through acquisition, and those business processes were left in place. So our largest challenge was, how do we realign our business, revision our business processes, and get everybody moving in the same direction on those very commodity activities, accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll, and streamline our company and say we only really need one payroll department instead of four. And that was one of the largest things. As well, it was to lay the foundation from a technology perspective for our future growth. Traditionally, the company had done a very good job purchasing locations, purchasing assets, and as one of our CEOs, Charles George, stated so well, he kind of reckoned this effort for ERP and CRM as filling the cylinder. And it was, how do we enforce the inside of this cylinder, i.e. the information, so that as we do grow, it doesn't implode in on itself. And so that was those are the primary drivers, and that bled both into our search for an ERP solution and our search for a CRM solution. And it was a bit of a natural extension for us to choose Dynamics CRM as our solution deployed straight through the cloud. And as you mentioned earlier, you do some of those hybrid, and we worked with y'all on that as well, obviously. And it just made sense to us because the integration is going to be a lot easier when we choose to do that. We've just recently gone live within the last month on our ERP project. And so when we do go to integrate those, we're going to expect a much cleaner and faster experience as well. Looking forward to the future, you mentioned it very lightly a few minutes ago, Dynamics 365, and ultimately we're certainly going to be considering that, and that's it's a more tightly integrated solution, and those are some of the things that we were challenged with, and the opportunities that we had when we decided to move down the path of an ERP.
Good, and I appreciate that, Wayne, and Kenny too. One of the things that's obviously that's key for any customer that's looking at a project like that and undertaking that is, and you talked about a lot of times you see the investments on the shop floor and in the production area, and a lot of times that's more easily quantified. What's the value to the business? But that's something that we think is helpful to do for any customer that would be thinking about bringing in a new ERP, new CRM. Not again, no one's doing it just to do it, but to evaluate what is the value what that they'll get. Cost savings is part of it. Increased sales, ability to better manage the business. So being able to help quantify what that is. So that's good to hear and good to have that feedback. So let me and Wayne, I'll start with you this time as you wound up that first question. So what led you, and y'all kind of touched on this a little bit, but maybe even to tweak it a little bit to just look at what made what put Microsoft into the mix of what you were evaluating, and I guess in the end why did you end up choosing Dynamics AX and or CRM for your business?
Okay, I'm going to start this off a little softly. I hope I don't offend anybody if you're from Microsoft. Quite honestly, I didn't have a whole heck of a lot of idea that Microsoft even had an ERP solution. I think that we all kind of talk about that somewhat jokingly from time to time, that we'd like to see more marketing effort. on Microsoft side. But when we started looking, we looked at SAP, we looked at N4 very heavily. We looked at Oracle solutions and Microsoft Dynamics AX. And so just a couple of a few of the things that really drove us towards Dynamics AX and CRM were very simply SAP in our industry has a bit of a bad reputation for these projects that seem to never end. Now, we did consider them, but that's kind of a big deal. Plus, it's very costly. And the Dynamics AX product, in fact, with our current financial management, HR and payroll solution and the number of users that we have, we more than doubled the number of users, and we actually added on almost 120 device cows through Microsoft, and we're actually paying less than we are just in our financial management, HR and payroll solution today. So obviously finances are a big deal, especially in a privately held company. That's something, it's the family's money, so we have to be very diligent about that and make sure that we're spending it the right way. So that was important. However, probably one of the things that really struck us hard was we, like most companies, use Microsoft applications. We use Word, PowerPoint, Excel. And even though, it's always a struggle when you upgrade those things, you get that new ribbon bar and things like that, and users have a difficult time with that, AX feels like Microsoft. It looks like Microsoft. It smells and tastes like Microsoft. And so all of that was natural for our users. As well, the language that you would use, for example, very simply, if you wanted to run a 1099 report out of payroll, well, you could go into the payroll module and you run the 1099 report under reports. It's natural language. It's not, hieroglyphs and acronyms and numbers that you have to learn, which works. Everybody's able to do that, but it just was a more naturally extended way to move our users to a standard system or a standard way, actually a standard business process. This is not in any way, shape, or form been an IT project at all. And our business users, we wanted to give them something that they were going to be able to consume more easily. Not to mention, in the research that I did with Gartner and some other third-party consulting firms, Microsoft is picking up a lot of the market share. And we all understand this, where companies gain market share, that's where they put their money in R&D and development. So we saw that as just kind of a precursor of the partners that were going to be with us for a very long time and be able to support us and help grow with us.
That's great. That's great. Kenny, how about for Paragon?
Well, for me personally, I've got a long background with Microsoft products and what we call the Microsoft stack. Their operating systems, their databases, their web servers, all this kind of thing. In a past job on my career path, I had been a partner and owner of a Microsoft Gold partner that we specialized in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So I had worked with Microsoft, I'd worked with their products, I was familiar with them, I liked them, and also being aware of the talent pool that's available on the technology side to work with Microsoft products. Finding developers and people that can work with that stack is very easy. There's a plethora of that kind of talent available compared to some of the other things. Oracle and SAP is much more of a specialized thing to find the people who have experience and can really get in and work with that. So that made a difference for me, knowing that I wanted to be able to easily. We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma is where our headquarters is, and it's not one of the major cities where maybe you can more easily find a specialized IT staff. So that played a part in it. And then similar to what Wayne had said, knowing that their products are going to work like Microsoft products. Pretty much everybody's in business is using Microsoft Windows. Microsoft Office is ubiquitous. So knowing that is going to be a same experience would greatly decrease the training time. People who had worked here a long time were familiar with our terminal emulator-based program and how to use it, but anybody new coming on board was a bit taken aback. Oh, wow, you guys are still using this kind of green screen-like thing. I don't even know what to do with that. Where do I click? And so moving into AX for people who had worked anywhere else or who had used any kind of Microsoft products, it was an easy learning curve for them. And even for the people who had used the other systems, of course their systems at home, they were using either Microsoft or even if they were using a Mac, they would still be familiar enough with the way things work to be able to jump in and learn it. So that was a lot of what it was. And then also the fact that it's for AX specifically, when I started to research it, finding out that this was Microsoft's flagship ERP product, that they have other systems as well, but AX seems to be the bulk of where they've been putting their effort, putting their money, putting their R&D team. That was something that meant a lot, that if Microsoft is getting behind it and supporting it and investing in it and adding their technology to it, that as things moved into mobile and the cloud and everywhere where it was going, there would be a very strong chance that Microsoft's product would keep up with that. And that has turned out to be the case, that they have supported it and adapted it to the changing environment and platform, whereas other companies, it's difficult to say. Sometimes they get happy and satisfied with where their product is and may not necessarily take that jump into keeping up with the rest of technology.
Right. Yeah. As you think about that, and just moving on to this third question, as you think about kind of, we started with what led you to an ERP project, and then kind of around how did Dynamics and Microsoft come into the mix. Kind of look at it now from this view of it. What type of impact have you seen from having Dynamics AX up and running in your business?
Yeah, so it's been a very strong impact. The company, the business leaders of the company have been very pleased. One of the best things that I can speak to is the agility to take on new needs and new requirements. For instance, we went live with Dynamics AX, not taking advantage of every single thing that was available in the system. We had to start somewhere, and over time now we've rolled in additional departments and additional needs and features, and it's been very quick. Whenever somebody has come up with something new, it hasn't been, oh, well, we have to go off and spec this as a big project. In many cases, it's, oh, yeah, that would be simple. We already have the framework in place, because AX does provide you a development framework. It's not just, well, whatever you get from Microsoft, that's what you get. You also have all the third parties that develop add-ons and extensions for it, and then you can develop your own add-ons and extensions. And so it's been very easy. For instance, we had a need where the production planners wanted a particular way to view all of the production that was scheduled for the current day for all the different production lines. And that wasn't there out of the box in AX the way that they wanted to see it. And it was a very low effort to create a whole new grid that provided everything they needed to see all in one place. All the information was there in AX, but they might have needed to go over to this screen and then click over to that screen. And AX made it easy to just develop a new screen with a new menu item that when they click it, it just pops up and the whole thing is displayed the way they want to see it. They can filter it, they can sort it, they can export it to Excel, they can report on it, a lot of these kind of things. So responding to the changing needs in the organization, and especially as they started to get the feel of, oh, wow, that was that easy for that department. What about us? We have a similar sort of need. Could we see something like that? And in some cases, we were able to show them, oh, yeah, you don't even need IT. You can customize your own screen. You can just, or what we call personalize it. You can add your own columns in. You can add your own, what you want to see on the grid, how you want to sort it, how you want to filter it, what are your favorites. And so in many cases, we're able to tell the end user how they can get it the way they want it without any help from IT. And if there's something that goes beyond that capability, then it may still be easy enough for us to just roll something out for them that gets things the way they need it. And so the response from the user community has been tremendous. On at least a few occasions, I've talked to people that in their job, when I said, well, what's better or worse about it? And they just look at me and say, well, everything's better. Everything is better about my job and my life ever since moving on to this. The information that I need is easier to get to. Entering information is easier. Reporting is easier. Sharing information is easier. So one specific thing I can call up, which has been great, is that our accounting department has gotten our month-end close down to about 2 days now. And prior to going live with AX, it was usually a minimum of about 14 to 16 days, and sometimes longer than that. And their goal is to get it down to less than 1 day for a month-end close. And I know that part of that has been process improvements within the accounting department, but they've said that they couldn't have done it without the features and functionality that they were able to use out of Dynamics AX.
That's great. That's great. Wayne, how about at George's? Anything that you've seen there?
Sure. And one thing I don't want to go back a slide, but I do want to comment on one thing, and Kenny talked about this a little bit. One of the other things that impressed us so much with Dynamics AX was the actual architecture of the application, and that you didn't have to go, all the way down to the DNA to make a change. And Kenny talked about that a little bit as well. And that was also a big reason for us, because we wanted to use our own organic assets. We have some, really good .NET developers, and we were just able to use them, just naturally extend their capabilities into the solution as well. So a couple of impacts, and again, we've only been on Dynamics for about a month now. So really the first impact we had was a bunch of scared-to-death users. And, we were changing their business processes. Well, they were changing their business processes, but they were just scared to death, honestly. These people have been using these applications, the COBOL application and the other solutions, and they had to develop them for us. And so we had a lot of people that were very fearful. There's no question about that. However, since going live with Dynamics AX specifically, we're hearing a lot of these really wonderful comments from the users. And again, we've only been live for about a month. But it's really cool inside week one when you're walking around the accounts payable group and the group of folks who actually generate our purchase orders, and you hear them saying things like, this is so much easier than what we did before. We can just tab through. And they're not loud comments, they're soft comments, and the other ones are, hey, did you know AX could do X, whatever it was. Those things show you that your users are actually using the system, number one, and number two, that they're excited about it. And that kind of excitement, it will go rampant through a company, and I might even say and through a manufacturing company, maybe even more quickly. So that was really important for us and has been so far with AX. From a CRM perspective, we really, we went live on CRM in just a few short months, 4 or 5 months, I think is how long it took us to go live on CRM. And we very quickly were able to take advantage of that self-service solution where the users were developing the workflows. The users were actually developing the views of the information that was tied straight into Outlook, and they were able to access that information quickly. They were able to see other sales people's information and share that information in a more organic way, in a more seamless way. And so, we began to see these users saying, hey, can we do this or that? And they were actually able to go out and deploy that stuff themselves through the test system in the cloud, test it, train on it, and bring it up live. So you're really taking advantage of that user who wants to make it their own. And so those are probably some of the big things that we've seen since we've gone live, or making the decision to go with Dynamics AX and CRM.
Right. And you touched on there about just working through the cloud.
Yep.
With CRM in y'all's case, being through the cloud and ERP being on-prem, and so just kind of changing the thought process for a minute. Obviously, cloud, that I guess it's in a lot of conversations. You kind of hear it in the news more and more. So, this is obviously from your perspective in y'all's businesses, but do you see, or are you hearing that in not just in your companies, but with trade shows that you may go to or inside your industry? Does it seem like that's something that's coming from the business, or is it more, I'll say more of a technology push as opposed to a business push? And Wayne, I'll kind of let you tag on, to start up first on that one.
Okay. I see a little bit of both, quite honestly, Steve. Mm-hmm. From an IT perspective, certainly where we can and where we can take advantage of minimizing our footprint from a hardware architecture perspective, that's always a positive thing. However, it's a new generation of user out there. We all talk about millennials and so on and so forth, and we've got new employees coming in. But it's bigger than that. There are solutions out there that are provided purely through the cloud that the users can manage, the users can set up. I mean, something as simple as a notification solution for your employees for weather events. Well, you can get that stuff through the cloud. You don't have to develop it anymore. And in fact, our HR department went out and found that for us and brought it to us and said, what do we need to do this? And I loved it, of course, because I didn't have to do anything. I just let them work with the company to do it. With CRM, it's saying, hey, this is a tool that you can manage and develop. It's easy enough. The user experience is easy enough to make these changes. If you need a developer to help, we can provide that to you. It's come from both ends. Of course, we like it because we don't have to necessarily manage it every day, day in and day out. And for some of IT executives, that's a bit of a scary proposition. However, when you take a look at what, like Kenny and I, our job is not to write the code. It's to ensure the strategy of the company and make sure that those foundational components are in place. And that is those are about organizations that are malleable and agile enough to move and change and grow and flex, as it were. And the cloud provides that. And so it's a bit of an inevitability. However, in my industry specifically, I'll say poultry or process manufacturing, the IT executives are moving to it very cautiously. And we're only moving certain applications up, and we're leaving some applications on-prem. So the short answer, I see it coming from both directions, which is exciting because we don't want to be necessarily recommending what they should do, but providing options to them of what they might do and being able to support them both.
Right. Kenny, how about from your world at Paragon and just the work that you do there?
From my perspective, I think it depends on which area of the business. I would say that sales and marketing and sometimes HR are very open to the cloud because there are a lot of products that are available. For instance, Salesforce has been a big product. There are marketing systems that are available, and so a lot of times sales and marketing executives see this as, oh, I don't even need IT. I can just go buy this thing, and it'll just give us everything we need. HR is used to using payroll systems and other types of HR systems that are cloud-based. On the manufacturing side, I don't think there is as much available or as much. It's not a request I'm hearing from that. In fact, in many cases, hearing the opposite. Oh, I don't know. Putting our stuff in the cloud. Do we want our IP up there? Do we really? Are we, sure that the security is going to be there? If we're trusting these systems for running our manufacturing and we're putting them out in the cloud, what if we lose our internet connection? How's that going to affect our ability to keep manufacturing or to keep products flowing through the warehouse? So I think there's a lot of wariness from the operational executives and a more openness from some of the other ones. And then when it comes to IT, I've been a big proponent of putting things in the cloud, but like Wayne said, with a lot of careful thought into which things belong in the cloud and can, handle the cloud very well versus, we know that sometimes having more control means we also have the ability to control the results and the performance. If we're wanting to make sure we've got good performance and things that are really working well, we want to be careful about releasing too much of that capability into somebody else's hands where we're just reliant with some things like maybe your email, you might get away with saying the system's down, but they hope to have it up soon. But if your manufacturing systems are relying on this system, you really won't be able to say, oh, well, sorry, Microsoft's having an outage right now, so, hopefully it'll be back up soon. You have to have more control.
Sure. Yeah, you bet. And I think, so and it is. You do see, and I think Wayne touched on this as well. You do see more of a comfort level, and I think you do think different companies will respond and act in different ways. I think, like you touched on, where even within departments of a company, that there'll be just an easier, quicker acceptance and being okay with it, in other areas of the business it may take a little bit longer, and that is where I think you'll see more and more of that hybrid approach, where parts of your business applications may be cloud-based, some may be public, some may be private cloud, and then some may continue to be on-prem. Just looking at time and wanting to be considerate for both of y'all as well as for those that are attending, I'm going to combine, guys, the question 5 and 6 about Microsoft Azure, so the Microsoft cloud, if you will, and specifically around Dynamics 365. And so we'll talk at the end. I'll give a little bit more about Dynamics 365, but just wanted to see, Kenny, have you heard about Dynamics 365, and I guess any early thoughts around it and how that might impact your business or businesses in general?
Yeah, I really have, and I had been really interested in the direction that Microsoft had been taking AX when they announced AX 7, which was the first web-based version of AX, and that recently has been renamed to Dynamics 365 for Operations. And it's always exciting when you go to Microsoft conferences and you see the demos of things that have a very modern look and feel and that are very easy for users to use, and that have these kind of flow built into them that can help processes. And then the whole idea of cloud brought up a lot of questions. So if it's all up in the cloud, then how does that handle this? And if it's all public cloud, then what does that mean for performance? Is it going to have the good enough performance that we need if it's all public cloud? Are they going to make this product available for us to run on-premise? And if so, when? Are we going to have other options? And so in some of the Microsoft briefings I've been to recently, we're starting to get a lot more clarity on that. Microsoft is starting to have a very good message from our perspective on a hybrid engagement, where some things live in Microsoft Azure, which has a lot of capabilities. We're using Office 365 up there already. We've got some other things that live in Azure. Hybrid, though, some things private. You may have a co-location facility, or you've got another partner that has servers that you can take advantage of. And then some things that really need to be just on location. And so Microsoft's been able to paint a picture of a future where everything lives where it needs to, and they work together really well. And so you get the benefits of cloud-based things, where when you're needing to work remotely, when you're needing to be able to spin up more capabilities, when you're needing to be able to access things from mobile devices, that's all powered by the cloud. When you need the quickest response time, when you need something that's always available, even if you lost your internet connection, that's where you've got stuff on premise. And then there's some things that can live somewhere between those. And I think they're starting to put together a really good answer for that, and it's helping us to start to build our strategy moving forward to be able to take advantage of those technologies as well.
Good, thanks, Kenny. Wayne, how about from your side? Anything that you would add to Kenny's overview?
Not really. Really honestly, we've been heads down with our deployments and working towards our phase 2. However, kind of from questions 4, 5, maybe 5 and 6, or 4, 5, and 6. For the manufacturer, when you hear about the relationships that Microsoft is making and establishing with Rockwell, and these organizations that are deep manufacturing organizations, the use of big data to make decisions more quickly, those are highly valuable. And certainly the only way you're going to be able to do that and leverage the potential capability is through a cloud infrastructure, because you can scale those things so rapidly and then bring them right back down so that they're not costing you money. That's really all that I would be able to talk to on this end. Again, we've been really head down in our project. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and read this question and step right in on there. Are you okay with that?
No, yeah, sorry, I was
no problem.
I was transitioning and didn't realize that I was not being heard. I was just kind of wrapping up 6 and then moving into slide 7 here. But I think the good news is, as Kenny touched on it, and Wayne, you did too. A lot of companies, your heads down, you're just getting one implementation done. The good news is that the path that Microsoft has set out, it's not forcing anybody to have to move to the cloud. You can go cloud if that's right for the business. You can stay on-prem, and as that cloud solution continues to evolve and to come about, that you'll be able to make the decision that's right for your business at the right time. And so I think that's kind of one of the things that we've seen, that we've been really glad to see, is that no one's being forced to make a move, really before they're ready to. Mm-hmm. And so moving back around, just again as we wrap up this time, guys, from your experiences, and not just, again, both of you have had experience at other companies and with other systems. So if you were to give advice to a company that's either, one, maybe they're looking to replace their ERP system, maybe they already have it and they're looking to do an upgrade, what advice would you give to them? A couple of points. Wayne, why don't you start on that one for us?
I'd say probably the greatest piece of advice, 2 pieces of advice that I would give is number 1, you have to answer this question that you have on the screen. Do we really want to upgrade or replace the solution that we have today? I think you have to spend a lot of time ensuring that you have a solid, strategic answer to that question. And number 2, regardless of the solution you choose, hopefully Microsoft Dynamics AX, you got to find the right partner to help you get there. Those are the 2 biggest pieces of advice that I would give.
Good. Kenny, how about from your experience?
Yeah, I agree with Wayne. You got to really decide what you want to do and why you're doing it, and then I think you want to really know what you're getting into. Doing a conversion to an ERP system is a big project, and it really requires buy-in from the senior executives, hopefully all the way up to the CEO. If you can get their buy-in, if they believe that it's the right thing to do, and they will mandate across the board, this is what we're doing and we need everybody to be on board, you'll have so much more success. I was very fortunate to have that in our company, that our CEO was completely behind it, and so it wasn't a struggle, a fight to get people to get on board with it. By the time we were doing the project, it was a strategic direction for the company, and so it was really just made very clear, be on board with this or go somewhere else, because this is what we're doing. And so that's my biggest advice is, get the CEO on board, get the senior executives on board, and then, because also what Wayne said earlier, it's not an IT project. IT is very necessary to be involved in it, but you've got to have the finance group, you've got to have operations, you've got to have marketing and sales have to buy into it and be willing to do their part to make it the implementation successful. If anybody was pushing against it or not really on board, it will not be successful.
Yeah, good. Great. It's great advice. and advice that we do. I'd encourage everybody to, Wayne and Kenny have given some really good insights around that, and would encourage you to see what they did around that, because both have been very successful in that. Doesn't mean it's easy, and that's where the advice that they've given is so important, because it's not easy, and you have days that are harder than other days, but having that commitment and being able to have that strategy in place that you understand and know the value that's coming to the business, that's why those are so critical. Last question, and again, I know we're a little bit tight on time, but guys, anything as you looked at for AX and CRM, did you look at multiple partners? Obviously, there's a lot of Microsoft partners out there. In the end, you both ended up going with full scope. What maybe one or two things that you would say that led you to that conclusion? And Kenny, I'll let you wrap go first on this last question.
Yep, absolutely. I wasn't going to just pick the first one came across. Looked at a lot of partners, looked at a lot of different ones, talked to a lot of people, recorded by a lot of different implementers, and ultimately the two bullet points that meant the most to me was who's got the most experience with my field, which was manufacturing, and we are one of those kind of hybrid combination of discrete and process manufacturing. So who's got experience with that? And in this case, Full Scope had written the modules that ended up becoming part of the core of AX that had to do with manufacturing. So they certainly knew it the best. And then the second was, who does Microsoft think is the best? And when year after year you get Full Scope being given awards by Microsoft as Manufacturing Partner of the Year or being in the top percent, I figured Microsoft's product, Microsoft's channel, if they come highly recommended by them, then that meant a lot to me too. So those are our two biggest factors in choosing Full Scope.
And for me, and for me, Steve, I'm not going to say the same two that Kenny said, because those were factors. However, one other very large one for us, again, 100-year-old private company. We needed a good culture fit for our organization. We wanted a company that we believed would enter into, again, what our CEO called a marriage with us. That was going to be with us for a long time. And Edgewater Full Scope answered the call on those first 2 points that Kenny mentioned, but they were the closest culture fit to us as an organization.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Wayne, because that was a huge one for us too, and it meant even more to the executives in our company than it did to me. They wanted to make sure that this whoever was partnering with us would be a partner and would fit us culturally, and our CEO really liked Full Scope in that respect and had a lot of respect for them.
That's great, guys. I appreciate the information. I appreciate you taking time today. I know it's Friday, and I know there's a lot going on that needs to be done. And so thank you very much to Wayne Bullington and to Kenny Mulkin. Thank you for jumping on and sharing with all of us today, and for providing that. Great job doing that. Definitely happy to share, and I'm sure, Jason, that there have probably been some questions that have come in while we've been on, but I thought it was important to hear from Wayne and Kenny. But any questions that have come in, what let's do is just, if you can send those to us, we'll get those routed over and get responses back, and then we'll get those back out to those that sent them in.
Absolutely. We'll take a record of any questions that come in through the Q&A block, so feel free to enter those now.
And then I've also put up here on the screen, we had a couple of slides we were going to talk to with Dynamics 365, but again, we'll be happy to share those directly with anybody that would have interest. But just a general email, if you do have any questions around Dynamics 365 or Microsoft, Dynamics. So again, Dynamics AX is still very much a product that customers are buying. It's still being supported for Microsoft for many years to come. So whether you're looking for an on-prem solution or a cloud or maybe a hybrid of the two, definitely happy to talk with you about that. So you can send any questions or requests for information to d365info@fullscope.com.
Okay, well, we will wrap it up there. Like we said, if you do have any questions, if you have come in, feel free to enter them into the Q&A, and we'll make sure we get Steve and the Fullscope team to provide an answer back for you. Well, Steve, Wayne, Kenny, thank you all so much for talking. Really interesting to hear you share your thoughts today and your experiences. And thanks to everyone in the audience. Great, and thanks to everyone in the audience for your attention too. We have recorded today's event. We'll be making that available soon as well. We will wrap it up there. I hope everyone has a good weekend who's on the line live, and have a great day, everybody.